I don't know about you, but since turning 40, I've noticed this rage in me. It's not new, but I used to suppress it. And that's not possible anymore. Now it's just there. If that sounds like you, let's explore where it comes from, what part of it is actually valid, and how we can deal with it without just pushing it back down. Hi, I'm Dr. Johanna Canady. I'm a mother of three, a birth doula, and hospice volunteer. And on this channel, I explore how we can live in a way we won't regret later, especially as women over 40 who are in the middle of everything. And this topic, perimenopausal rage, is one of those things. The rage itself is not the problem. There are things in this world that deserve our anger, right? When I look at politics, injustice, and especially at men in power who can rape children without consequences, I know that my rage is justified, and so is yours. But there are other moments when my anger feels concerning. I'm talking about the kind of anger that shows up in the wrong places. When your partner forgets something and you feel this surge. When your kids ask you something for the 10th time and you lose your patience. Or when you have a technical problem and feel ready to throw the freaking laptop out of the window. That's the kind of anger I don't like. I am not a fan of the meme of the angry perimenopausal woman, but I do want to acknowledge the biological layer. During perimenopause, our hormones fluctuate a lot. Estrogen doesn't just go down, it goes up and down for a couple of years, and that affects serotonin and how we regulate our emotions. Progesterone, on the other hand, which has a calming effect on the brain, is often the first to drop. So what happens is your emotional buffer gets smaller, your reactions get faster, and things hit you harder than they used to. And on top of that, sleep can be worse, blood sugar can be more unstable, and stress hits differently. So if you feel more reactive than you used to be, that's real. But I do not think that that's the whole story. There is a deeper layer to it. Because if I'm really honest, I don't think this anger is just hormonal, and it's also not coming out of nowhere. I think it's coming from years of how we've been living, taking care of everyone, holding everything together, putting ourselves last, and doing that so well that we barely noticed how far we moved from ourselves. And now something shifts, and suddenly the things that used to feel normal don't feel acceptable anymore. And this is the uncomfortable part, because if you look at the data, women who get married and have children often have lower life satisfaction, lower income, and less freedom than their single counterparts, while men benefit from marriage immensely, and still we do it. Because our biology, our hormones, our conditioning make us accept a lot, make us prioritize connection and harmony and family. And I'm not saying that that's wrong. I chose this life too. But what I am saying is this. In the second half of our lives, when fertility is not the main driver anymore, something in us stops being willing to carry all of it in the same way. And that can eventually feel like rage. And in order to have conversations like this, I created the No Regrets Women's Circle, because this phase of life can feel incredibly isolating when you're the only one starting to question things. Inside the circle, we have honest conversations like this, without pretending everything is fine, without trying to fix everything immediately. In April, we're starting a new season focused on money and work. We'll look at our money patterns, the beliefs we've been carrying for years, and also very practically how we want to handle money and investing going forward. So if you feel like something in your life is shifting and you don't want to figure it out on your own, you're very welcome to join us. Back to the episode. I am not interested in blaming our partners, because when I look underneath my own anger, what I often find is that it is actually directed at myself. I see all the moments where I didn't speak up, where I didn't ask for what I need, where I made myself smaller, where I just carried more than I should have. And yes, that creates resentment and then eventually anger, not just towards others, but towards myself. So the question isn't how do I get rid of this anger, but where is it justified? Where is it misdirected? And what is it trying to show me about how I'm living? Because I don't want to walk through life as this constant ball of rage, but I also don't want to go back to being the version of me who just swallowed everything. So instead of suppressing it, I started making changes. The first thing that made a huge difference for me was becoming physically stronger. I started lifting weights. And what surprised me was not how my body changed, but how I felt more grounded, more capable, and also more courageous. And I think this is so important, especially as women, because a lot of that underlying tension comes from feeling like we are not physically safe, not powerful. The other day, I entered the bus with my two younger daughters. There was a man in there harassing a group of three young girls. They were maybe 17 or 18. He really insulted them and even pretended to piss on them. It was so disgusting. 2 years ago, I would have tried to get away, but this time I didn't shrink. I brought my daughters to a different part of the bus, walked back, and stepped in. I told him to leave them alone or I would call the police on him. He wanted to argue, but I wasn't available for that. And he actually left. And that felt so good. My anger was aligned with the situation. It had direction, it had purpose. And I could feel I am not powerless. I actually made a difference for those girls, but especially for my own perception of myself. The second thing is honestly quite basic, but it makes a much bigger difference than I expected. Eating in a way that keeps my blood sugar stable. Because when I'm underfueled or running on sugar, I'm a completely different person. More reactive, less patient, and everything feels just more intense. I'm so irritable. If your blood sugar is constantly spiking and crashing, your body is in a stress response all freaking day. So, of course, your nervous system is on edge. For me, this means real meals, protein, fat, something that actually keeps me stable. And I'm not doing this perfectly at all, but the difference is very real. The third shift for me was sleep. Sleep changes in this phase. It becomes lighter, more fragmented. And if you start your day already exhausted, your threshold is just lower. So for me, improving sleep became non negotiable. And I'll share this openly. Taking progesterone in the evening has helped me a lot. I am finally sleeping through the night again. This is not medical advice, but for me, it made me feel much more regulated. And beyond that, I take my evenings more seriously now. Less stimulation, less pushing through exhaustion. Because if I don't take care of my sleep, the likelihood of me losing it is so much higher the next day. And then there's shift number 4. Stop carrying everything. And this one is still ongoing for me because I'm so used to doing everything by myself. And then at some point, I'm exhausted and I'm angry, and often not at the situation, more at the fact that I let it get that far. So I've been practicing asking for help earlier, letting things be shared, and especially with my partner, allowing myself to soften. And when I do that, everything really shifts. I feel more held, more connected, and much more loving. The anger truly just dissolves when I'm not carrying everything alone. And shift number 5, the last one, is reducing the overall load. For me, that means decluttering regularly because new stuff just creeps in and it drains me more than I want to admit. I need less noise, less input, less pressure to do everything perfectly because no nervous system can stay calm in constant overwhelm. At the end of the day, this isn't really about anger. It's about how we want to live the second half of our lives and whether we're willing to change things while we still can. And maybe instead of trying to get rid of this anger, we start seeing it differently as a signal, as energy, as proof that there is still so much life in us, so much clarity about what is no longer okay. Because this anger is not here to destroy things. It's here to wake us up, to show us where we've outgrown old patterns, where we've been too small for too long, where there is room for something better. And when we stop turning that anger against ourselves, against our partners, or even worse, our children, we can start using it differently. Lives where we have the energy to care about the things that are actually worth being angry about, where we have the energy to fight this. And this is the kind of life we explore inside the No Regret Circle. Not a perfect life, but an honest one, where we take that energy and turn it into real change, where we start making choices that our future self will actually thank us for.